All right, so Candace, you left off with a great question. Like, do you feel like you have to explain? I did. I know I did. Did you all actually explain? Like, how did you kind of explain to people what was going on? I did a whole video, like, I had to put it out there.
I honestly never fully explained to the public or on social media because other people are involved, that's their business.
Right.
So it's not my job to tell their story.
Right.
But I found a way to just kind of be honest about what it was. This person left because of XYZ,
right.
But we're still committed. We're building this business. And I really only kind of went more in depth into it when people just kind of assume that, because such and such left, I guess they're not doing it anymore.
Yes.
And people have to understand that, one person doesn't stop a show.
Yeah.
And you have to, and especially if it's something that you're still working towards, let people know, what it is. That's really, I think that was the hardest part because there are so many assumptions.
Yes.
So you're like managing people's, because word on the street might be something. So then you have to control your story. And so that was the part that was kind of, I would say took time to kind of do that, but really only telling people what they need to know. And I don't think people should feel obligated that they have to pour their whole life out, because at the end of the day, it's not any of their business. What's only important is, what has to do with running your company. But I know people feel torn because people are so overexposed on social media. And I don't know, it's like a new precedent to just kind of tell everything.
Right. Yeah. It's so interesting. We all have these different transitions. Like, I left something that I started, and now the assumption is always, I thought you ran it. No, I'm not the only person.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, I'm
right.
not the only one. Like, it's still, and that's something that I have to make sure that I reiterated in my messaging. Is like, no, it's still going.
Right.
Like, so like, I just don't work there anymore.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest surprise, that people don't realize you have a whole team.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not just
I've
you.
done my part.
But I think when you build, like in my case, I had built something, or I let my tribe in as I was building it. Mm-hmm. So they had actually saw me building a company before it took off. Because I was posting on social media, I'm doing hair and doing this crochet, and then posting like, hey, I've come up with this idea, and then posting like, hey, I've got a company now. Like, hey, here's me and my founder. So I let them into the build up, so that when it was coming down, people felt like they were obligated to know, and I felt like I was obligated to tell them. And and again, wanting to control the narrative and wanting to let people know, what happened, but I was feeling guilty about letting people know what happened because I was feeling like I was being messy. But I'm like, I'm not being messy. The situation is messy, and it just feels that way. But so it was like I was just caught in like this matrix that I just felt like I just couldn't get out of. And it, at some point, like I was, doing podcasts, and I was like really telling it all, and and I was did a Essence interview and giving my story, and then it came to a point where I was just like, well. Like, I am tired of actually telling this story, and I'm tired of like when I'm doing an interview that this is what it's about because I am trying to move on now, and so I'm like, if you want to know, I have already put it out there. Some things I wish I could take back because maybe I told too much, but the story is out there. You want to find it, you can Google it and you can find it. But what I'm trying to do now is just build something over.
And coming out of situations like that, I had to do a lot of reflection. I feel like I am just healing from all of what happened. And one vow I made to myself is to not tell old stories. Because,
I love that.
That just gave me chills.
It did. I love that.
Because from an individual standpoint, I would face certain challenges or roadblocks. And I would be like, well, if this didn't happen, then I wouldn't be in this situation. If this, and I found myself going back to old pain, old trauma, old also old voices, because things are not that pretty when you're going through, a separation, right? So, I endured a lot of things that I felt like wasn't kind, right? Yeah. And so you start to have those feelings or those voices in your head again. And I was like, you know what? Enough with the old stories. Yeah. It's a new day, it's a new phase in the business, and it's time for me to have a new attitude towards moving forward.
I love that.
How long did that take you? Because I'm like in my first few months, and I'm still just, I'm struggling with a lot of what happened. I'm very insecure about some things because I feel like I've been able to hide my mistakes behind my business, and now I can't do that anymore. And so everything that I do, I feel like I'm just trying to figure it out. And I felt like I had my greatest hit at some point. So how long did it take you to be like, you know what, I'm not going to tell that story. I'm not going to let that story define me, because that's how somewhat of how I feel right now.
Yeah, it took a couple years, to be honest. I had to be in active therapy to get through it, because, if you're working every day, right, and some things are going to trigger you. Yeah. So in order to, not be defeated by it, you have to have, what is your defense mechanism? Like, how are you going to roll with these punches? And for me, it was therapy, because I had to understand, what was my part in it, in terms of not using my voice, not seeing red flags, not, being honest about, what was going on, and then figuring out, what do I need to be successful in this business? Right. What needs to be different? And, for me, it's all in your mind. So from a psychological standpoint, I think therapy is the best way. There needs to be business therapy. Yeah. Because it is some real stuff. It is.
And you feel like you're alone.
Yes,
you feel like I would not have known that you've gone through anything like that, and so you think that you're alone.
Absolutely. You do
in it, which is why I think too, I talk about it a lot. Now I talk about it from a place of ownership, where I own me, and I don't talk about anybody else,
right?
Right. And so I share where I went wrong and how, and if I had done something different, that and so I share from that space, not pointing fingers, stay away from this. I share this is a mistake that I made in business, and now I'm sharing it, hopefully, so that you can learn from it.
It's a new narrative, because I feel like the startup narrative is very specific. Like, you go to an accelerator, you scale. Accelerator, scale. If you get into an accelerator, it's like, and then if you scale and you raise, but there's no narrative about this founder who started something and left. And the company still runs. Well, there's not a lot of them, I feel like.
You start to see that as the companies are bigger. Because at some point the founders get replaced by CEO or they move on. But you don't hear about it. There are probably more stories like yours than the ones that we read, in the articles.
People don't understand. I'm happy, with what I've chosen. I have a lot more freedom now, and there have been people that have tried to guilt me, but you guys did so well, and you were Forbes is not Forbes is not the best thing I'm gonna do with my life. And that's what people would assume. These are people that would be close to me, and it's I have a lot in me that I want to use, and I have outgrown my space, and that's just what it is.
And I had to learn how to separate myself from the business.
Yes, you told me that, and that's a big one.
Because when I would go out, people would see me, and the first thing would say is, how's your company doing? What about me? How am I doing?
People do. I just thought about that. People do. That's the first thing. So how's business going?
How's business going? That's
as
the
if
first
they want
question.
you to tell them, I'm failing right now.
Right.
Money's not good. I'm not scaling. They just want you to list all the things that's not.
I try not to do that, because I know that it's
how it makes you feel.
How it makes you feel.
We are individuals.
Yeah, because most oftentimes you're navigating a really big challenge. And so you can't be like, oh, everything's great. Like, you know, and sometimes it's not even, you know, the right environment to kind of open up. Yeah, or just, you know, consider the fact that you're a real human, you know, behind this brand and the business that goes through emotions and things like that. So to your point, like, what makes me happy, you know, because you have to maintain your own happiness to be your best self to run that business, right? So that really helped me too, to like take care of me as a person, because my whole life has been consumed with this company.
Like you've been grinding for a long time. A long time. But I also realized too, you know, my whole career outside of corporate America has been really, you know, trenched in social media. Because when I came out of corporate America, you know, basically I started blogging, and that's how I built my identity. And now, like you, I'm pulling back a little bit from the whole social media thing, because I thought that you had to be on social media every day, posting about all your this, that, and the other. And I was finding that I was feeling like, not depressed, but just like, why? Like, what is the point, you know? And I just feel so much more fulfilled posting when I have something to say versus posting
because you have to, right?
Because you have to,
So what do you all wish that you knew then? And I don't regret anything, but what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Wow. I wish that I knew that I had the power to change my situation, because I felt that things were happening and I just had to take what was, I didn't feel like, you know, I just wish that I knew that I had that power, because I think I refrained myself a lot when my heart and my spirit knew what was going on, and I didn't have like the courage to really just take charge. And so that was, but it was a lesson. It was a lesson at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by not regretting, because I knew it was something that we learned. So,
I wish that I knew that I could do it, that not to be afraid to carry out an idea that I had without feeling like I needed someone to help me. I often tell people, if you have an idea and the first thing you do after having that idea is call somebody to tell them about that idea and try to get them to come in with you to do that idea, you are likely afraid to carry out your idea on your own. And I wish I knew that I had everything inside me to carry out my ideas without feeling afraid.
That's really good. I think I wish that I knew I just had everything that I needed to get it done. Like, I also think the biggest thing for me is I've gotten off track. Like, I always did things, I feel like my companies were always for other people, and that's cool, but like the best thing that I could do for people is this right here. And I feel like I've always gotten off track because I've been scared to like fully pursue this. So I think that, I mean, obviously I was supposed to do Blossom. At the end of the day, this is what I've always ran away from, is sitting right here on camera having these conversations. So I wish I knew that I could do this, like no matter what. So,
but you're doing it.
It's like everything you went through.
I'm so happy.
It brought you to this point.
So, and I'm very thankful for that. And so, just before we go, I want, if you have any resources or any books or any suggestions for people who, you know, are going through hard times in their business, and some of us, I feel like, don't even, for me in particular, I didn't even know my stuff was so hard. I thought it was how it was supposed to be. Like, I didn't know I could fix it. I thought it was a part of being a startup company, but it's really in hindsight it didn't have to be. So if you have any books or resources for people going through transitions or, you know, just hard times in general, what do you think?
I'm gonna do a shameless plug for my own book.
It's not shameless.
Because when I hit rock bottom, I took a month off of my company because I was just really depressed, and I just knew like I couldn't work another day. And during that month, God really showed me that I need to be operating differently, because the startup, it will take you out sometimes, because you're running off this hustle and so on and so forth. So The Shift, which is my book, I actually wrote about my entrepreneurial journey. Yes, and that was my practice to be transparent about really the emotions and the ups and downs that you go through as an entrepreneur, or really just any person trying to bring a vision to life. And so I would recommend that book because, one, you're going to know that you're not alone. Yes. And two, you're going to see how to make that shift in every area of your life so that you can really operate in a more healthier way, but you can also manifest the success that you're striving for, like, instantly. Yeah. Because once I did that, it was like the next year was my best year. So I was just like, I'm so grateful to God for bringing me out of that. Yeah. And you'll realize, once you hit that pit, it's not over. Just know that it's not over. So I would definitely recommend that.
I would say The Purpose-Driven Life. Yes. I really, really love that book, and I have read that book over and over, and I even started giving that book out. That's your book? It's my book that I literally gift to everyone, because you can literally put yourself, insert yourself into those parables in that story, and really start to understand what how you should function, and how it's on point.
Yeah, I've read that a few times too.
Really,
me too.
That's a good one. And his podcasts are really good.
Yeah.
Rick Warren is really good. So I want to say that to anyone who's having a few challenges, reach out to somebody, because Candace and Tiffany were very great for me. And we've had the relationship for a few years, and just being unafraid to be like, oh my gosh, I have no clue what to do, I think is helpful, because we're not alone. And I think that there's people who have gone through things, even when we don't think they have, they really have. So thank you all so much. Like, this is all I want to do forever and ever and ever. Thank you guys for sharing your story, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
That was great. I want to watch it now.
Yes, I'm so excited.